I never told my wife I used to cry in the shower every morning because she always said I was the strong one, the rock, and I didn't want her to know that some days I only got out because she knocked on the door and asked if I wanted coffee. We'd been married for 6 years when it started. Maybe longer. I can't really pinpoint the moment I broke. Only that I didn't notice until I'd already fallen into it. I'd wake up every morning at 6:10. The alarm buzzed low so it wouldn't wake her. I always pressed snooze once, just to lie there a little longer next to her warmth. She'd turn over sometimes, pull the blanket up to her chin, and mumble, "You're my hero for getting up first." And I'd smile like I meant it. Get up like it was nothing. Walk toward the bathroom like I had a plan. But the moment the door clicked shut, something changed. At first, it was small. I'd sit on the closed toilet seat while the shower water warmed up. My shoulders would sag. I'd stare at the floor. Just a minute, I told myself. Just a moment to gather myself. But after a while, I stopped getting up. I'd stay seated until the mirror fogged over. My chest would tighten. And without warning, tears would come. I never made a sound. I'd learned how to cry without sound. Just leaking from the eyes, jaw clenched, shoulders trembling slightly. I'd cry because I felt like a failure. Because I couldn't find steady work. Because bills were stacking up behind the scenes even though I pretended I had it under control. Because my wife still looked at me like I was a man who could handle anything. The thing is, she's the strongest person I've ever met. And yet somehow she believed I was the one keeping everything together. I think she needed to believe that. And I let her. I don't think she ever heard me. I was careful. I always waited until the water was running. Some days I'd sit in the shower itself, fully dressed, just letting the water soak me until I felt human again. It sounds dramatic when I say it out loud. But it wasn't. It was quiet. Numb. Like my body didn't know what else to do. Then came the knock. Every morning. Without fail. "Hey," she'd say through the door, "you want some coffee?" And every time I'd pause. Not because I was thinking about the coffee, but because her voice, the way she said it like nothing was wrong, pulled me out of myself just enough to move. I'd say, "Yeah, that sounds great." Every time. Same tone. Like I was already halfway into my day. Like I hadn't just spent the last 10 minutes silently begging whatever was out there to give me a reason to keep going. I never told her. Never even came close. She was working extra hours by then. I think she knew I wasn't okay, but she needed me to be. She couldn't carry both of us, so I made it easier for her. I smiled. I cleaned. I cooked. I called places that weren't hiring and left fake messages I knew wouldn't be returned. Sometimes she'd come home and say, "God, I don't know how you stay so calm." I'd be losing it. And I'd just shrug. You do what you have to do. It became my answer for everything. But there were nights I'd lie awake beside her, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I could keep pretending. How long until she saw me the way I saw myself, small, tired, slipping through the cracks. And worsey. What if she stopped loving me once she did? I never let that thought finish. I kept getting up. Kept saying yes to coffee. Because that knock on the door, it saved me more times than she'll ever know. And I don't think I'll ever have the courage to tell her that. That winter, things got tighter. I picked up a part-time job at a warehouse, unloading shipments overnight. It didn't pay much, but it gave me something to say when people asked, "So what are you doing now?" I hated that question. I started lying, telling people I was doing consulting work too, just to fill in the gaps. I hated lying even more. The warehouse job was hard on my back. I didn't tell her that either. I'd come home sore, hands cracked from the cold, and she'd be getting ready to leave for her shift. We barely saw each other during the week, just crossed paths in the hallway, gave a quick kiss, and exchanged schedules like roommates. I could see it wearing on her even though she smiled through it. The tension in her shoulders. The way her voice changed when she asked, "Have you heard back from anywhere?" And I said, "Not yet, but I'm trying." That quiet disappointment behind her eyes, no matter how hard she tried to hide it. I started drinking more coffee just so I'd stay awake long enough to see her at night. I wanted to be available, attentive. I wanted to be the man she believed in. Some nights we'd sit on the couch, eating dinner in silence, watching reruns of shows we used to laugh at. Neither of us laughed anymore. Then one night, she came home late. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sorting through unpaid bills. She walked in, tossed her keys on the counter, and said, "Do you ever think about just starting over somewhere?" I looked up. "What do you mean?" "Like packing up. Moving. Trying something completely new." "I don't know." She leaned against the sink. Her face was pale. "This can't be it, right? This isn't all there is." I didn't know what to say. She wasn't accusing me of anything, but I felt like she was asking something I couldn't answer. Like she was testing if I still had hope. And the truth was I didn't. Not really. I said maybe. I don't know. She stared at me for a second, then said, yeah, me neither. She walked past me into the bedroom and closed the door. I sat there another 10 minutes staring at the envelope in my hand. The electric bill. Already past due. That was the night I started staying later at the warehouse, picking up extra shifts when I could. Coming home after sunrise sometimes just in time to hear her alarm go off. I told myself I was doing it for her. For us. But the truth? I think I was trying to outrun the morning. If I didn't shower at home, I didn't have to sit in silence. I didn't have to cry. I didn't have to face the knock on the door. It's strange how something that once saved me became something I started avoiding. But the emptier I got, the more I needed her not to see it. And then one morning everything cracked open. It was a Sunday. She was off work and so was I for once. We were supposed to have a reset day, that's what she called it. Clean the apartment, do laundry, maybe go out for lunch. But I woke up late. Too late. She was already in the kitchen, wearing that old sweatshirt with the sleeves pushed up, humming along to music. She looked peaceful. I stood in the hallway for a moment, just watching her. And for a second, I felt like a stranger in my own life, like I was pretending to be someone who belonged there. She turned and smiled. Coffee's hot. I made your favorite. I nodded, forcing a smile. Thanks. I sat down at the table. My hands were shaking, just a little. I couldn't tell if it was exhaustion or the usual tightness in my chest, but something felt off. My stomach hurt. My face felt too hot. She sat down across from me, sipping from her mug. You okay? She asked. I said, yeah, just tired. She looked at me for a long time. You've been saying that a lot lately. I shrugged. Yeah, just warehouse hours are rough. She didn't say anything at first. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small white envelope. Placed it on the table, slid it toward me. Her eyes didn't leave mine. What's this? I asked. She said, it's a therapist's card. He specializes in depression. I found it in the break room at work. My hands froze. I didn't say anything before, she went on. But I hear you sometimes. In the mornings. When you're in the bathroom. I looked down at the envelope. You always said you were okay. But I think maybe you're not. I wanted to deny it. Say she was wrong. That she was imagining it. But the way she said it, not accusing, not angry, made the truth impossible to run from. So I just nodded. And then she said something I didn't expect. I thought you didn't trust me enough to tell me. That hurt more than anything. I do trust you, I said quietly. I just didn't want you to think less of me. She shook her head, almost smiling. But there was sadness behind it. I never needed you to be perfect. I just needed to know you weren't carrying it all alone. And for the first time, I felt like I might cry in front of her. Not behind a locked door. Not beneath hot water. But right there in the middle of the kitchen on a Sunday morning with the sun coming through the window. But I didn't. I nodded again. Swallowed the lump in my throat. Took the card and put it in my pocket. We didn't talk about it again that day. We did laundry. We went to lunch. We joked about how old the people in the diner looked. Even though we were starting to look tired in the same way. But something shifted after that. Not fixed. Not solved. Just shifted. And then something happened that changed everything again. Something she never saw coming. It was a few weeks later. Things felt lighter for a while. I wasn't better, but I wasn't drowning either. I kept the therapist's card in my wallet, though I hadn't called yet. But just knowing it was there made the mornings feel a little less suffocating. Then, one Thursday evening, I got home early. She was still at work. I went into the bedroom to put away some laundry and noticed her nightstand drawer slightly open. I wasn't snooping, at least not on purpose. But something inside caught my eye. A folded-up piece of paper, tucked under her old paperback novels. I don't know what made me take it out. Maybe I was still in that headspace where I couldn't trust anything to stay stable. Maybe I was scared again. Or maybe I was just tired and looking for something, anything, that felt real. I unfolded the paper. It was a letter, not addressed to me, just words written out in her handwriting. At first, I thought it was a journal page, but then I read it, and it stopped me cold. It said things like, "I don't know how much longer I can do this. He won't open up. He doesn't see how I'm breaking too. I feel like I live with a ghost. Someone who smiles and nods and disappears the second I turn around. I love him, but I'm scared I'm starting to feel numb." There was more. Details about nights she cried in the car before coming upstairs. Times she wondered if it would be better for both of us if we split up, even though she didn't want that. I sat down on the bed with the letter in my hand, suddenly ice cold. I had been so wrapped up in hiding my pain, in holding it together, that I never stopped to think. She was breaking too. All those nights I told myself I was protecting her. Maybe I was just pushing her away. I put the letter back, exactly the way I found it. Closed the drawer. Sat on the edge of the bed for a long time. When she got home, I didn't mention it. I couldn't. I watched her come in, tired but smiling. I helped her with her coat. We made dinner. Watched something on TV I didn't pay attention to. But now every time she said, "I love you," part of me heard the words from the letter echoing behind it. I feel like I live with a ghost. That's when I started staying up at night. Not out of sadness, but out of fear. Because the truth wasn't just that I'd been falling apart. It was that maybe, without knowing it, I'd been dragging her down with me. A few days passed. I couldn't stop thinking about the letter. It sat in my mind like a weight I couldn't shake. I started noticing things I'd missed before. The way she hesitated before answering simple questions. The way she laughed a little too quickly, then fell quiet right after. How often she rubbed the space between her eyes like her head hurt. And how, when I touched her shoulder at night, she didn't always lean in like she used to. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. We were brushing our teeth, side by side, both staring at our reflections in the bathroom mirror. That space, the same place I used to sit and cry, suddenly felt smaller than ever. I dried my hands. She reached for the light switch. "Wait," I said. She paused. "What?" I didn't look at her. I just said, "Do you still feel like I'm a ghost?" Silence. Then I turned. She was looking at me like I'd just said something from a dream. "What?" she asked again, more carefully this time. I panicked for a second. Thought about lying. Pretending I heard it somewhere else, read it in a dream. But I didn't. "I found the letter," I said. "The one in your drawer." Her mouth opened slightly. She blinked, but said nothing. "I wasn't looking for anything," I added quickly. "It was open. I don't know why I read it. But I did." Still, she didn't speak. She just leaned back against the counter and folded her arms like she was bracing herself. "I didn't know you felt that way," I said. "I thought I was protecting you by hiding how bad things were for me. I didn't realize I was making it worse." Her eyes were wet, but she hadn't cried yet. She said, "You didn't ask how I was doing." "Not once." "Not really." I nodded. "I know." She looked down. "You weren't the only one pretending everything was okay." "I know," I said again. The silence between us was thick, but not angry. Just heavy. Like years of mischances sitting in the air all at once. "I'm not mad you read it," she finally said. "I kind of hoped you would eventually. I just didn't know what I'd do when you did." I said, "I want to fix it. I don't know how, but I want to try." She looked at me. "I don't want to be married to someone who disappears every morning. I need a partner, not a ghost." "I know." And then she said something I'll never forget. "Then show up. Not a demand. Not a threat. Just a quiet, tired plea." And I realized in that moment, she hadn't been asking me to be strong all this time. She was asking me to be real. After that night, we didn't talk much. Not about the letter. Not about the morning cries or the missed signs. It wasn't cold between us, just cautious. Like we were both scared of saying the wrong thing too soon. But something did change. I started waking up a little earlier. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to sit next to her while she drank her coffee. I still showered in the mornings, but I stopped locking the door. Sometimes she'd knock. Sometimes she wouldn't. But when she did, it felt different now. Like we both knew what it meant. I kept going to work. Started saving up for a few sessions with the therapist, even if I hadn't called yet. I wrote the number on the back of an old receipt and taped it inside my wallet. That way, it would stare at me every time I reached for something, like a quiet dare. She didn't ask if I'd made the appointment. I think she was giving me space to do it on my own. One night, we were doing the dishes together, no music, no distractions. And she said, out of nowhere, "Do you ever feel like we're still in the same house, but on different floors?" I paused. "Yeah, all the time." She nodded slowly, like she already knew my answer. "I keep waiting for things to feel normal again," she said. "But maybe this is normal now. Maybe we just have to figure out what that means." I didn't answer. I didn't know how to. Later that night, I laid beside her and watched her breathe. Her back was to me. I wanted to say something, anything. Tell her I missed her. Tell her I was sorry for all the mornings I let her carry both of us. But the words sat in my chest, heavy and still. And just before I fell asleep, she whispered, barely loud enough to hear, "I just want you to come back." I stayed quiet, because I didn't know if I'd left, or if I just stopped showing up a long time ago. I never told her that some mornings, even now, I still sit in the shower a little too long. Not crying, not breaking down like before, just sitting. Remembering what it felt like to lie, to vanish right in front of her. She thinks I'm better now, or maybe she just needs to believe I am. But some part of me still waits for that knock on the door. And I don't think it's the coffee I'm waiting for.